Last episode, we built the automation system, the one that moves your money before you can touch it. Alex called it the irrigation pipe for your finances.
And a few of you messaged saying you immediately set one up, which genuinely made my evening.
But tonight, we need to talk about something that can quietly undo all of that progress. Even if your automation is running perfectly, there might be water leaking out the bottom of the tank.
Money drains. Silent ones. The kind that don't feel like mistakes while they're happening.
Alex, what are people going to understand by the end of tonight?
By the end of this episode, you'll be able to identify the specific spending categories that are most likely eroding your financial foundation right now. And you'll understand exactly why your brain is engineered to keep them invisible.
Because that's the thing that blew my mind when I first looked at this. These aren't obviously bad decisions. They feel reasonable. They feel deserved even.
Which is precisely what makes them dangerous. A money leak doesn't announce itself. It's not one catastrophic spend. It's 30 small decisions, each individually reasonable, that compound into a structural drain on your future.
Can you give me a scale? Like, how bad is this problem actually?
A 2026 survey by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that the average household in the U.S. was spending between $400 and $600 per month on what researchers called low-intent spending, purchases that weren't planned and weren't particularly enjoyed.
$400 to $600 per month.
At a conservative 7% average market return, $500 invested monthly instead of leaked becomes roughly $600,000 over 30 years.
So we're potentially talking about a six-figure retirement gap caused not by one bad investment, but by Tuesday delivery apps and subscriptions you forgot you had.
Exactly. The damage isn't the individual decision, it's the pattern. And the pattern is almost always invisible unless you deliberately look for it.
Okay, so let's look for it. Walk me through the mechanics of how these leaks actually form.
The core mechanic is something called the pain of pain, a term coined by behavioral economist Drazen Prelec at MIT. When you hand over physical cash, your brain registers a small but real burst of discomfort.
Which is why spending $20 in cash feels more significant than tapping your card for $20.
Exactly. The physical act of payment creates friction. But when you subscribe to a service, that friction happens once at sign-up and then disappears completely. Every subsequent month, the money moves silently with zero psychological cost.
Which is why the subscription economy is now worth over $1 trillion globally. They didn't build that accidentally. They built it by removing the moment of pain.
And most people are now carrying between 8 and 12 active subscriptions. The majority of them couldn't name all of them from memory.
I just did an audit on my own accounts and found 3 I'd completely forgotten about. 3. And I consider myself reasonably financially aware.
The second major league category is convenience markup, the premium you pay to have something done for you rather than doing it yourself. Delivery apps are the clearest example.
Because it's never just the food price, is it? It's the service fee, the delivery fee, the minimum order, the tip, and the convenience tax that the restaurant adds because they know you won't notice.
Research from the University of Chicago found that regular delivery app users pay between 40 and 60% more for the same meal compared to collecting it themselves. Once or twice, harmless. 3 nights a week for 5 years, that's a car.
And the so what here is uncomfortable but simple. These leaks are not about being irresponsible. They're about systems that were specifically designed to bypass your natural resistance. Understanding that is step 1.
Step 2 is identifying your specific leaks, because the categories vary by household, and the historical evidence on how quickly they compound is genuinely alarming.
Okay, Act 3. Let's get into the real story.
In 2010, a financial coach in Nashville named Jeff Yeager started working with a couple, both professionals, combined income of around $110,000 a year. They came to him because they couldn't understand why they had almost nothing saved.
$110,000 and nothing saved. That's not a salary problem.
Exactly. Jeff gave them a single exercise. For 1 month, they had to manually log every single transaction. No app, no automation. Every purchase written by hand into a notebook.
The friction of writing it down creates awareness that tapping a card completely bypasses.
At the end of the month, they found 11 active subscriptions they had both forgotten about. totaling $214 per month. They found an average of 4 restaurant delivery orders per week. They found a gym membership for a gym neither had visited in 8 months.
The gym. It's always the gym.
Always. In total, they identified over $800 per month in spending that neither of them could consciously connect to any memory of enjoyment or decision.
$800 that they were spending but couldn't remember spending. Gone.
Within 12 months of plugging those leaks and routing that money into index funds, they had their first $10,000 saved. Same income, same lifestyle, in every category that actually mattered to them.
The money was always there. It was just leaking out the bottom of the bucket.
And the critical insight is that they didn't feel deprived after the audit because they weren't cutting things they valued. They were cutting things they'd simply stopped noticing.
Okay, devil's advocate time, because I can already hear the pushback. I deserve a treat. I work hard. I shouldn't have to audit every coffee.
This is the most important objection, and it deserves a serious answer.
Because the point isn't to eliminate all spending on things you enjoy. The point is to distinguish between spending you're choosing and spending that's just happening to you.
Exactly. If you open DoorDash every Tuesday because Tuesday evenings are your deliberate, chosen rest night, that is not a leak. That's a values-aligned spend. Keep it.
But if you open DoorDash on Tuesday because you're tired and it's just what happens, that's the machine running without you. That's the leak.
The audit is not about judgment. It's about consciousness, about making your spending match your actual priorities instead of the path of least resistance.
Second objection. What about inflation? Things cost more now. This isn't just lifestyle choices. The cost of living has genuinely eaten into people's budgets.
This is true and important. Inflation is real. But research consistently shows that a significant portion of perceived budget stress comes not from core costs, but from the expansion of the convenience layer, the delivery markup, the subscription stack, the premium upgrade that quietly auto-renewed.
So inflation tightened the pipes, but the leaks are still making the pressure problem worse.
And plugging the leaks doesn't solve inflation, but it gives you options. It creates slack in a system where there was none before.
The actionable insight. You can't control what rent costs. You can control whether you're paying for 4 streaming platforms you watch one of.
All right, the action plan and 3 distinct starting positions.
Let's go.
If you have no savings right now, your first micro action is a subscription audit. Open your bank statement for the last 60 days. Highlight every recurring charge. Write down whether you actively chose to use that service in the last 30 days. Cancel anything where the answer is no.
1 hour, that's all it takes. And most people find between $50 and $200 per month in the first pass.
If you have some savings but feel like they're not growing, do the manual ledger exercise. 1 month, every purchase written down by hand or typed in a notes app. Don't judge it yet. Just build the map.
The act of logging creates awareness. Awareness changes behavior automatically, without willpower or discipline.
If your savings are in good shape, your target is the convenience markup layer. Calculate what you spend on delivery services, premium upgrades, and time-saving services monthly. Then ask, which 3 of these genuinely improve my life enough to justify the price?
Keep the 3 that pass. Cancel the rest. Route the difference into your investment account before your brain can reassign it.
Tomorrow morning, before you open any apps, pull up your last bank statement. No pressure to act yet. Just look. The awareness alone is worth more than any tip we could give you.
And next episode, we're exploring something that trips up even high earners. People who do everything right. Save, invest, stay out of debt, and then get blindsided by the one trap that grows proportionally with your income. We're calling it the lifestyle creep trap, and honestly, it's the sneakiest one yet. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you in the next node.